Hey guys, and welcome back. The weather took a turn for the worst outside over the past week or so. It was 8 degrees this morning. I think it's warmed up to like 13 or 14 degrees, but that's a little cold to be working outside. So I brought the car into the garage, and I have disassembled all the way down to the wheel hub, which we determined in the last video was bent or warped, and I have a new replacement one in a box over there, and we'll be installing that today. I have already soaked the 4 bolts that hold this wheel hub on with PB Blaster. I don't know if you can see it. There's 1, 2, and there's two other ones behind there. They're 14mm bolts, and hopefully they will come off without much of a problem. So without further ado, let's see if we can get those off, or see if they will loosen up. So I'm going to use a breaker bar with a 14mm socket just to see if they will move. Yep, they move. It's good. Let's see. There is a clip down here. I don't know if it's a light. Let me see if I can get a light on it. There is a clip holding the anti-lock brake sensor wire and this brake hose that is going to need to come off to access that bolt right there. And I think I can just squeeze that little clip there with the pliers and pop that off. I won't have to take the bracket off. Alright, that's clear. Let's see if I can get a wrench on that. Actually, let's see if the socket will even fit. No. Can I do it with a combination wrench? Maybe. Doesn't want to stay on. It's gonna fight me. Don't really want to round that off. Let me see if I can. I think I'm gonna have to take some of that bracket off. I got the clip out, but this bolt is kind of in the way. I can't get the round end of the combination wrench over it. I can't get a socket on it. Let me just take that bracket completely off. That'll solve a lot of this problem. It's 12mm bolt holding that bracket onto the axle housing. Now I can definitely get this breaker bar on there. I am going to switch to a 6-point socket so as to not round that bolt off. Alright, let's see how this works. 6-point. So I will not round off or hopefully will not round off that bolt. That would be bad. That's good. All right, last one. I don't want to damage this ABS sensor wire. Kind of in my way. I think I heard somewhere that the torque spec on these bolts is about 47 foot-pounds. I'll probably double check that before I actually bolt the new one on. And it looks like they used Loctite on this, some blue Loctite. I think that's what that is. So I will probably put some on as well before I bolt these back together. Now, that was easy. So there is the wheel hub assembly. There is also an O-ring in there that is supposed to seal this and prevent dirt and other such crap from getting in there. I'm gonna clean that up right in here. Clean up any goobers, any nasties. I think that's pretty good. Doesn't look like there's much in here. It's pretty clean. And I think that's the ABS sensor, which I'm not sure how that works. Maybe there's a magnet in there or something, a permanent magnet. Not sure. Probably. Alright, let me go get the new wheel hub, and we'll continue this after I open that up. Alright, let's open this up. Made in USA, Timken bearings. I used all Timken bearings on the Mustang. When I rebuilt the differential and whole rear end, Timken axle bearings, Timken carrier bearings, pinion bearings. Seem to make a pretty decent bearing. right. There, it has a new O-ring on it. That's good. It looks pretty much the same as the old one here. Pretty much identical, more or less. Even the top side, you can see that even the top side looks the same, so I think that is going to work for us. Alright, let me get you set back up and we'll get this installed. Alright, there we are. Try not to touch anything that goes into this hub assembly inside here. I want to keep dirt and crap out of there. I mean, it is a sealed bearing, but you don't want anything in there. Alright, how does this go in? Like... Nope, not that way. That's the right way. That's good. Alright, let me... Alright, let me put some of this stuff back together. I'll bring you back. We're gonna check the run out on this and see what the run out of this new bearing is after I just hand tighten these bolts up. I'll bring you back. Alright, I got the dial indicator set up here with the new wheel hub. I just basically hand tightened these with a combination wrench. There's no Loctite or anything like that, and I didn't torque them down. I just wanted to see what the run out is going to be, and we're sitting right at 0, maybe yeah, less than 1,000, less than half a thousandth of run out on this new wheel bearing. And you see I have the indicator touching right there on the edge of the hub, which this part right here should have the maximum run out, because the further you get, if the center is wobbling a little bit, it gets magnified as you go further from the center. So the center is wobbling, you know, if it's a thousandth of an inch, a thousandth out, the outside will be, you know, maybe 2 or 3 thousandths, and the brake rotor will be even more. So if you remember from the last video, the rotor was about 20 thousandths out, and then when we measured the old wheeled hub down there, it was 15 thousandths out. So it magnified the wobble as you got further from the center. So this is very good. This should probably fix our problem. And I did talk to my wife, and what happened was she hit the curb at about 40 miles an hour, and definitely did scratch the rim up, and it bent this wheel hub. It's kind of unusual for a wheel hub like this to get bent. Usually something else gets bent in here, and some of these control arms are, you know, all this stuff. I mean, it's still very well could be bent. You might be able to, but if you fix the wobble here on the hub, you can probably align out any bend in the you know, the suspension. But of course the geometry is now slightly off. probably doesn't make a difference in the Civic. You know, if this was a car that got tracked, maybe I would be worried, but you know, it's not. I don't think it ever sees more than 70 or 75 miles an hour on the highway. It doesn't, you know, no cornering, nothing like that. So I think this is going to be just fine. You always have to remember what it is you're working on, right? And you know, basically do what's right for whatever you're working on. You know, this is not a race car. This is, you know, daily driver that almost never gets driven on the highway anyway. So, yeah, it's not gonna make a difference. Just like, you know, if this was a tractor that goes maybe 5 miles an hour, 15 thousandths of run out wouldn't make a difference at all. You know, you wouldn't even fix that. So, yeah, keep that in mind. All right, let me go get some Loctite and see if I can get a torque wrench in there. All right, so I double checked I went online and I was looking for the torque specs for the 4 wheel bearing bolts back there, and I don't know if you can see, this is a very blurry picture, small picture, but there's the hub, and this image has the drum brakes, but shouldn't matter, it's the same hub. There are the 4 bolts, and it says there, you can just barely, it doesn't show up well on the camera, but it says 47 foot-pounds, or 64 newton meters, 47 foot-pounds. So that is what I am going to attempt to torque these to. My torque wrench is pretty big, and I don't know if I can get all of them, but I'm going to try. So let's see how that goes. Alright, so my torque wrench is actually pretty big. I only have a 1/2 inch torque wrench. I probably need to get a 3/8 inch drive torque wrench, but this torque wrench is actually even longer than the breaker bar, and it does not really fit well into this wheel well, so I had to try something different. I raised the car up quite a bit more so that I could actually come in from the bottom and get clearance there. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 4 bolts out one by one and just put a small dab of Loctite right on it. Little dab will do. You don't need too much. I started using this Loctite, or I guess it's Permatex Thread Locker Blue gel, and I actually really like this. I like it a lot better than the small tube of liquid. I think it's a little more expensive, and it just makes it so easy. You just dab it on and it doesn't run anywhere. It just stays where you put it, and you know, it's pretty good. So I think I like this. I think I'm gonna keep using the gel. Anyway, so I'm gonna take these out one by one and put a dab of Loctite on them, thread them back in by hand, and then we will attempt to torque these to 47 foot-pounds. So let's do it. You really don't want these coming loose while you're driving, if you know what I mean. The whole car, the wheel, is held on by these 4 bolts, essentially, so it'd be very bad, to say the least, if these work their way out while you are driving. Alright, they're all hand tightened. Let's see if I can get a torque wrench in here. Try this. Alright, got this one. Let's get it to set to 47 right now. Alright, that was 47. I'm gonna come over and do the opposite one here. If I can get this on, which looks like I might not be able to do. Yeah, that suspension is in the way. Let me see what I can do here. Alright, this one I just can't get with this torque wrench. This one right here. Right there. The shock mount is too close. It's like maybe 3 inches away. And that's not going to work, not with this torque wrench at least. Not with this 1/2 inch drive. So I am going to try and torque the other 3 and then tighten this one down to what feels about 47 foot-pounds. It's not going to be exact, but with the Loctite and the other 3 torqued, I don't think it will come off. Alright, got that one. That's a pretty tight fit too. That shock mount is in the way again, but I was able to get around it. Put this back. You really don't want a lot of tension on these rubber brake lines. I got those 2. Let's see if I can get this one now. Okay. That's a pain. What I wouldn't give for a smaller torque wrench. Yep, 47. And this last one, actually I'm going to use a real ratchet for that. That's probably about right. Don't want to go tighter than that. Alright. Let me get this bracket back on and we'll get this whole thing back together again. Alright, I threw the rotor back on, and the caliper, the caliper mounting bracket, all new spring hardware, and everything like that. Here's the rotor, and just for fun, I was going to check the run out of the rotor. Look at that. Oops, bumped it. That is exactly how it is supposed to be. Perfect. Alright, I'm going to put the caliper back on and put it all together. Oh, I forgot to mention in the last video, let me get the pad over here. So the rear pad has this nib, or an alignment, I guess a nib or something to that protrudes off the back of the brake pad, and you see this pattern in the piston. Well, that one of those crosses, one of those indents must line up with that nib. Otherwise, you're going to have this one of these high parts of this piston pushing on that nib, and that's going to be the only place that is where pressure is applied, and your brakes are going to probably make a lot of noise. They are going to wear unevenly. It's probably going to warp the rotor because the rotor is going to be heated unevenly. So you want to make sure that nib is fully seated in one of these grooves when you reassemble this. Ask me how I know all of this. Think you can figure it out. Alright, there's the assembled hub and brake system all back together. New spring hardware everywhere. E-brake is back on. So I think this side is, I'm going to call this a wrap. I have brake hardware for the other side, but that side is not damaged. It's not, wearing funny or anything like that. So it's basically this side, but simpler. So that nib I was talking about, you can kind of check it by looking down in there. It's really hard to see, but if you get a light in there, kind of look down, you should be able to tell. It's a little bit hard, but I doubt it's going to show up on the camera. But that's kind of how you do it. Make sure that it's all aligned properly. So with that, I think I'm going to end this video now. Thanks for joining me on this one. If you like these videos, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.